Each day is a small lifetime. Live a good life today. This is a quote by James Clear. And the beginning part of this quote, that's the part that gets me. When you are creatively flowing, there is no tired. You lose track of time. There is just go. There is a small lifetime that is lived within one day because you can't stop the flow of thoughts. This is how the creative process works. It can show up presumably out of nowhere, but we know better. There is always some sort of inspiration, some sort of preparation for this creative activity to take place. You're listening to the Long Game Podcast, and I'm your host, Sandra Scaiano. Today, the long game is how the creative process works. The other night doing my news reading scroll, and I dozed off for what could have been about a half an hour, and then I woke back up with the clearest idea that came to me, and my thoughts, they just clicked. I grabbed my iPad from my bedside table and I started writing, and I just kept going. Even after I had resolved to put the iPad down and turn it off, as my husband says, so I could go to sleep, I picked up another device and I typed on that. There was an audible tick, 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 tick of the keyboard, even though it was a gym morning the next day. I was wide awake though, and a flurry with ideas. I was making connections in my work. The creative process, it can feel like a mystery to us. Sometimes you are staring at a blank page at nothing, right? You got nothing. Other times you are showering and repeating the brilliant thing you said over and over to yourself so that you don't forget it by the time you get out and get a towel. There are, though, some distinct stages, 5 to be exact, to the creative process. And these have been outlined way back in the 1926 book, The Art of Thought by Graham Wallas. These have become the standard map of the creative process, and they are referenced in many industries. And that's because the creative process is part of writing. It's part of mathematics. It's part of science. And of course, it is part of visual art. The creative process is about problem solving. And so it naturally crosses so many industries and so many genres. And what's cool is that many of us are hitting all or some of these stages unknowingly in our own business problem solving or creative development. So today I'm going to run through the stages with you, and let's start with stage 1. So stage 1 is named preparation. So this is where you get started. This is the collection of ideas, brainstorming, getting inspiration. As business owners, this could mean taking note of what's already out there, right? Noting how your idea differs and adding to it. No matter what in the creative process, you have to identify the problem that you want to solve, and then you can start plotting out your ideas. So stage 1 is taking the first step. And in my story, I had written a talk. I had spent time brainstorming all of these ideas and stories that I wanted to share in this talk. And my mind had not only prepared, but I actually wrote out a whole 15-minute talk. And after working to revise and reread it, I was like, okay, this is good, but it's not what I'm here to do, right? I knew this topic wasn't the one. And as my good friend and talk mentor, April Adams-Pertwee says, we have a lot of talks within us. So I had this gut feeling, and if it is one thing that I've learned in my 50 years, it's that our gut will guide you in the creative process. So I sat with it, which leads right into stage 2 of the creative process, incubation. And this is where you take a break. You get outside of thinking directly about the process or the problem. You can work on another project or another aspect of your business. You can go play. You can go for a walk. You can actually go for many walks because there is no time frame on the stage of this creative process. There are artists and thinkers who have been stuck for months or years. This time lets your subconscious mind mull it over. Mull over what you are trying to say or do. And it's a powerful force, that subconscious mind, and it works without active thinking. So in writing my talk, I thought about this first topic was going to be for about 4 months. I had the idea and I was working on bringing that story to life in my own way. But when I sat with it, I had the revelation in about a week. And I also want to preface this by saying, I have had a lot of motion with my ideas at this time. I have been actively working on my own healing and connecting of the dots. So this incubation time for me was part of a number of different influences and work that I've been doing. And that's how it works, right? Like all the influences come together, because then it clicked in one night. And I entered stage 3 of the creative process, illumination. Doesn't that just sound amazing, right? You can see the rays of light coming out of that word. I literally gave myself the chills while I was writing this. So this stage, this is where the idea is coming to you. That aha moment, your realization, this is where your idea, your solution to the problem is illuminated in your mind. It moves from the subconscious to your conscious mind. And whether it's while exercising or showering or after a short doze like me, you get it. You are now enlightened, which, it sounds so dramatic, but really, don't we all feel amazing when we get it, right? We feel high, and we can feel it in our gut that we have the right idea. So next is stage 4 of the creative process, evaluation. Is this new idea, this amazing feeling of enlightenment, the right idea to move forward with? In the evaluation stage, you do a little research, you bounce the idea around. And depending on what the idea is, you could even do market research and things like that. There is time spent figuring out if this is the solution to the problem you are working on. And this stage is interesting because it can be where things get the kibosh and you start the creative process all over again. Or it can be where you move forward with your idea. And like I said earlier, you have many stories to tell. You have many ideas to share, and they may take different forms. So the story that I put the kibosh on, it's one that I'm still going to give. I'm still going to give this talk. It is a story that has a lot of insight and a lot of inspiration, so my accountability partners tell me. No, I'm kidding. I have actually been sharing this, of some version of this story for a long time now. But I know that there is another story within me. And that is where we come to stage 5 of the creative process, verification. In the art of thought, Wallace terms this as, quote, both the validity of the idea is tested and the idea itself is reduced to exact form. You bring your new idea out of you. You create your thing in stage 5 and you run with the idea. So for me, I started the writing process all over with the right message, the right platform that I wanted to speak about. I literally rewrote months of work almost in a night, right? I know I've got to touch it up and stuff, but I pulled stories from the original talk and I flowed with these new ideas, and it really was, for me, just a recognizing what my personal long game is. That's what I want to talk about. I have been on a lifelong journey and I'm making connections to create. And it's all good, right? We come out on the other side of our journeys, mostly. And I will share both the talks here on the podcast once they're fully fleshed out. Because that is part of what I want to do. I want to speak and share my story and share insights from my experience. I do believe that our experiences are universal. And the creative process in many ways is universal. Although we have our own experience within it because our ideas are unique, we all go through the same process and stages. And I was thinking about this because as I shared my epiphany with friends, they too at one point had to wrangle with their idea. And they too were now having aha moments from the work that they were doing. And it really comes down to an ebb and flow, right? This is what I see about the creative process. You get started and you move forward, and then you pull back and you let it simmer. And then you ebb again with newfound ideas and connections. I have been a creative in one form or another forever, and I am familiar with the emotions in the creative process. And really, I just love that I've now landed in a place where I've created a business that feeds into my creativity as well. Because whether it's working with clients, yes, we do apply our creative process here, or developing my own assets, being a creative and taking a creative approach to my business, that fills me with joy. I get super excited. If we're on a call, I'm pumped about it. I'm going to tell you. So, I hope that, you really get some insight out of this episode, and you get some insight into your own creative process. You know, that weird thing that you do, those emotions that you have, you know, that is all part of your own visionary ecosystem, right? And it's totally unique to you and universal at the same time. So I'd love to hear about your creative process. You know, let me know what you have found to work for you. You can DM me on social or respond to one of my weekly emails. Like, let me know your thoughts. Oh, and make sure you're getting my email. Just hop on to sandraskye.com and sign up. All right, everyone. Have a great week. Thanks for joining me today. You can access more information, links mentioned in this episode, and the show notes at thelonggamepodcast.net. If today's show connected with you in some way, please share it with your friends or hop on and leave a review. Both of these make a really big difference. All right, until next time, keep playing the long game.